So obviously today's webinar is all about our new APA damages and how you'll be able to use a light version of Pinpoint Works, which we're currently offering free of charge alongside any APA, active APA account with Voly. Obviously, it differs slightly from the full Voly project, which is a feature that came out towards the back end of last year, which those clients who have already started using have got nothing but praise for the time saving involved there. So what we're going to show you today is a light version of that, which relates particularly to the charter season.
Yep. So with that, then we'll get started then. So my name's Georgia. If you haven't met me before, I'm one of the client trainers here at Voly. And as Joe mentioned there, he is not Alfie. But yes, so today we're going to be going through the APA damages and the options on the APA platform and the integration with Pinpoint to utilize this functionality. The idea is that it's an easier way to log damage. So from the start, from when you first see the damage, you can log it and sort of almost record that it's there. But also then when you come to then billing the client on the APA platform, you're able to easily invoice that over. And there's also ways to pull the information from Pinpoint into your Voly reports as well. So you're able to then provide a full breakdown to the guest. If there's any questions, around which damage or how much it's costing and things like that, you can provide a full comprehensive breakdown. And then beyond that, track the repair as well. So if you have used Pinpoint before, you'll know that the main functionality, as well as spotting damage and logging it, is also then the ability to track progress and the ability to pull reports from that and have people coming on board and fixing and making repairs. So even with the Voly Lite version that we'll be showing you today, with the APA integration, you'll still be able to utilize Pinpoint for those features as well, of then tracking the progress on repairs made after damage from the clients on there. So today then we're going to go on a bit of a journey. So we're going to do it as if we've been on the boat and we've had a guest and they've done some damage and we spotted it. So we're going to go through adding the point, then how to add it onto Voly and invoice for that. And then beyond that, the reporting functionality and keeping tabs of that repair. So Joe's going to show us then how to add a point on the Pinpoint side of the platform.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Georgia. So hopefully all of you can see my screen. So like Georgia said, we're going to start from the beginning. So if you imagine I'm on board, let's say I'm the chief steward and Georgia is based in the office, and Georgia is going to be responsible for organising the repair for the damage that's been incurred by the charter guest. Now, very quickly, I'll just explain. If you've never looked at Pinpoint Works before, this is what it looks like. Now, this is a fairly quiet site because, again, it's a light version. It's just for APA damages. The entire premise is based on your general arrangement, which you can see here on the right, and you send that to us just in your standard PDF format, and we then map it onto the system for you as part of your onboarding with Pinpoint Works. And basically, it allows you to pinpoint the location of something that's happened on board. You can scroll in and zoom out, and you can add it there along with all of the information. So let's just have a little look at one that's already been done before I talk you through how to do it. As you can see, this is what it looks like, and it's packed full of information, which again, you can share like you can on Voly with only the relevant people. So with this Voly project Lite for the APA damages, if you already use Pinpoint Works fully for the vessel, this would be an additional site. So it wouldn't be that this would interfere with what you already have and your existing systems. Whereas if you don't use Pinpoint Works, obviously this is a great opportunity for you to see the time saving that you can achieve through using it, in particular with Voly Projects, or at least the light version that we're offering at the moment. So adding a new point can be done two ways. It can either be done on our mobile app or it can be done on the desktop. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it on the desktop just because it's for this webinar, but our app is great. And also what you can do is you can chop and change between the two. So lots of our clients will add the point as I'm showing you how on the desktop now, but they'll add the bare bones, then they'll pick up their phone and walk around and add the photos from the phone. Needless to say, that saves you then having to do what I've done, which is just send the image in advance to the computer. So that's what we'd always advise. But for now, let's take a look at how this works then. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add New Point on the left side, and it'll bring up a blank point for me. And what we've got here is damage to the marble countertop in bar. So let's say one of our guests has had one too many of our excellent cocktails on board. They've ever so slightly damaged our nice countertop in the bar. So the first thing I'm going to do is pinpoint the location. So let's say that it happened just here in the bar area. So just like that, I've located it really simply. And what that means is that anybody that needs to find it on board can also do so. You don't have to try and describe it to anybody. It's right there for you. Then what I can do is I'm going to go and I'm going to change the priority. We're in the middle of charter season. This is really important for it to be repaired. So I'm going to change it straight away to high. That makes the point go red for me. The next thing I'm going to do is add a description. So I'm going to explain to Georgia that the marble countertop in the bar has been damaged by a charter guest. Urgent repair to be done as soon as possible, please. And I can also tag Georgia here. Let's say that she's not live on a webinar with me. This means that then she'd be notified of that tag and she'd get to see it as soon as possible. Now, next is the tags. Now, with our Voly Projects Lite that we're offering for the APA damages, what you can select here is going to be your actual charter guest. So I'm going to select here that this is the current one we've got going on at the minute, the Helen charter. Now, the reason for using that tag is if ever I wanted, and obviously it's not necessary, but if I wanted to actually add the charter guest as a user on Pinpoint Works just temporarily so that they could see any information regarding this, particularly if there was several damages that have been incurred throughout the charter, you could actually add the charter guest but restrict their visibility so that they can only see things tagged with that Helen tag. So let's say that actually this guest has gone round and damaged 5 or 6 things. I'd be able to get them access to Pinpoint Works and they could see pinpointed with all the points on the GA exactly what they've done and where it is. Now, the next area are perhaps the most important fields for this because they're what we call the dynamic fields. These are the fields that you fill in on Pinpoint Works, but they automatically update on Voly. So this is where in the past you would have had to spend the time manually replicating this information in Pinpoint and then Voly. There's no need to do that anymore. So here I'm going to select that this is obviously repair and it's interior repairs and maintenance. That information, as soon as I create this point, will go through to Voly. Similarly, those of you that already use APA will know that the cost center is key for everything. Everything you do needs to be tagged against the right charter client on the cost center system. So I'm also going to select Helen in there. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and just add my photo, which is the last important thing for me to do. So as I said, I might have made the choice to create my point at this stage, then get up and walk about the boat with my phone and take a photo, but I've actually got it here. So here's one I prepared earlier. Let me drag and drop my file. And as you can see, attachment successfully uploaded. And there is my chipped marble countertop. So I'm going to go ahead and create this point on here, and then I'll just open it again to show you. So here it is, point number 16, and all that information I put in there is there already. Now, one thing I'm also going to do, just bear in mind that not only do these update, but this information here will also be pulled through to Voly for Georgia to look at when she does her end. So we've also got a custom field here for initial quote. So I, as the chief steward, I'm going to let Georgia know that actually we've already had South of France Marble give us a quote, and the initial quote was £2,500 for that. So I'm going to add that, and then that information will immediately be passed through to Georgia. Now, this gives you the option of adding different items, and this number here will automatically be calculated. So let's say that I actually want to add a quote for the raw materials and then a quote for the labour. I could do that, and then upon expanding it, it would give me all the breakdown, but this field here will update automatically. So that's how easy it is to add the point on Pinpoint. Now, Georgia is going to now talk us through, I'll stop sharing, what it looks like on the receiving end on Voly.
Thank you very much, Joe. So yeah, let's say that I'm shore-based or admin and I'm the one that's going to be responsible for invoicing it, or even if I'm the captain on the vessel. So I'm not the one that's necessarily adding the points and spotting the damage, but I am responsible for making sure that this client is going to be billed for this damage. So if you're familiar with the APA side of things on the system, you'll be, of course, aware we've got our APA balances, and I have my corresponding Helen Charter ongoing here, and here's the current return of funds for that one. Now, because we have our Projects Lite enabled, we can see here at the top, we've got our Projects tab. So when you actually click into that, you'll then see a table that almost mirrors what you're able to see on Pinpoint. So any information, as Joe mentioned, even if it's not a dynamic field, even if it is just that initial quote, we're going to then see pulled through. So we can see we've got our point here that Joe has created. It tells us who it was created by. We've got all those tags pulled through. Of course, the dynamic fields, which will be very important in a moment when I show you what we can do with that. And then we've also got this quote value here that Joe has mentioned. So if you want more information, you can actually click into this to see, more of a thorough breakdown of information on there. So if there was multiple costs and you wanted to see it more condensed as a sort of overview, you can. And from here, you'd be able to then click add invoice for this single piece of damage. Let's say, though, as we mentioned, we've got this guest on board and they've damaged quite a few things. Now, because we've got both the tags and the cost centers, we're actually able to filter this view. So, if you're worried, actually, have I got everything? Am I going to have to click into each and every one of these? What you can do at the top here is you can click filter, and then you've got the option to filter by both tags or cost centers or both, depending on if you want to double check the information that's there and that you have invoiced everything on that one. So we can see there, I've got my Helen cost center. When I then apply that, we've then got the relevant cost center selected on there, and we've got the breakdown of the item that's been damaged on that one. So with that then, we can go along and let's say then, let me reset the table. We've got a few different pieces of damage for this guest. We'll be able to actually tag multiple items and tick them like so. And down at the bottom, it'll let us know how many jobs are currently selected and allow us to add an invoice for all three or 4 of those. And then we can see here that because we had those dynamic fields selected on Pinpoint, that those have filled in here on Voly as well. So this top line here is the one we're going to be focusing on because, of course, that's the one Joe's just entered for us. We've then got our interior repairs and maintenance category as selected and the correct cost center. So we know that all that information is correct. But let's say then, let me get rid of this one that's Harry's because, of course, we don't want to bill Helen for Harry's stuff. But let's say this one was also Helen's damage and we forgot to tag the cost center on the Pinpoint side. It's not a problem. You can select it at this stage as well. So if there are bits of information missing, maybe it's been really busy on board and the crew have just added what they can in the time they have. So then you've got the ability then to change and update the information to suit the reporting needs that you have on there. Then at the end, because of course we've been provided with a lovely quote from Joe, we're going to input that amount there, and that's how much we're wanting to bill this client. And then for my broken chair leg, let's say they're going to be able to fix it on board, and we just need to do, some labour and materials costing on that one. So we'll say that one's slightly cheaper at €100 on there. Then, because this works essentially as a cross charge, like if you were doing it without the projects, the next step is going to be adding in your information here at the top. So, of course, we've got our invoice date. We'll say it's for today. That's the day we're locking it all in. We've then got our invoice number and our invoice file, which, of course, you will be able to create as you do on board with your branding and all your information on there. Attach that one on there, and then I'm going to add my description. So I'm going to say that this is damages during charter. Now you do have the freedom and options that you could have all your cross charges in one. So we could also add another line here and say, actually, we're going to add the fuel cost on here and items from stock as well. Maybe you want to invoice your damages separate. It's, as always, very much up to yourselves how you want it to pull through on the system and how you want it to look ultimately in your reporting. Up here then, for our supplier, as always, choosing our operational supplier because we need it to be billed back to the operational account because that's where the repairs, of course, will be paid from. So I've got my trusty operational account there, and then my due date, as always, on that one. I'm not going to input the information in there just because, of course, I'm going to be paying it later on at the end of this charter. So now we have here our running total for our damages. When we click Save Invoice, as you know, if you've used APA or joined one of our previous webinars, the beauty of the APA platform and invoicing is that that money is now committed. So if we were to go and run the report for Helen, we're straight away going to see the deduction of that report, of that invoice that we've just input within the report. We can see here it's letting us know that anything unpaid is marked with an asterisk. So we can see, yes, it's not paid currently, but it is on there and it is deducted from our overall remaining balance for this guest. Now, maybe because we're only halfway through this charter, I don't think even that, and we've already got a substantial amount of damage from Helen on board. Maybe there's more damage, as time goes on. It's up to you whether you want to add individual invoices for future damage or whether you want to go back and edit your invoice. But anytime you make a change or input it on the system, it's going to then show as a deduction down here for you straight away. Now, with that, how that is now, we can send this report, we can add it to our report pack as we normally would when we're running our charter. But let's say then, because there is a couple of bits of damage on there, we might want to provide more information to the guest because, of course, they might be aware they've done this damage, but they're not happy, with the amount we're charging, and we want to provide a bit more information to them. So with the integration between the projects and the Pinpoint works on there, you'll actually be able to export reports and information from Pinpoint to share with the guest. So Joe mentioned before the ability to have a guest join on Pinpoint as a temporary user and then only see things tagged to them, which is 100% an option on the system. But you'll also have the option to just export the information. So maybe you don't want them coming on and seeing all the information. Maybe you just want to export like the picture and the titles and then that GA with the points on there. When you come into a point, you'll have the ability to export singular information. So you can export here more options and export the information as one point. But actually, because we've used that tagging feature, you can also filter your Pinpoint page. So if we click on filters, and then I come and I want to say everything tagged to Helen I want to see on here, I can then export all of these together. So then if I was to click export, we can choose our format. And you can see here that we've got the PDF logo, and I'm going to choose my detailed list. And then I can decide what information is going to be shared with the client. So maybe I don't want them to see, specific quotes. Maybe I don't want them to see the initial quote, just a confirmed one. They don't need to see the estimated cost. You can go along and you can untick, and that information would then be removed from the report you're exporting on there. So then all you do is click export, and then we get a file that looks similar to this. So we've got our breakdown of information. I've filtered it all. We can see there any damages that have been done by Helen during the charter. And then down at the bottom as well, we've got that complete GA there with the points on that one as well. So we can see them numbered just like so on that one. So what can we do with this? Well, of course, we could then just share it with the guest. We can print it off, give them a physical copy. We could email it over to them. But again, if you've joined previous webinars, you'll know that we offer what we call our report pack within Voly. So what I can actually do is I can come and run my APA detail report, add it to my report pack, and then you can see I've already added it previously, but you just click add page and you're able to then upload other versions and other PDF items on there that you would like. So then if I was to have those, I can reorder them. So actually I want the detail to be at the top. I want the breakdown underneath. And then when I download this, it's downloading that APA summary and detail report. And of course, as well, that Pinpoint report that I've also shown on there. So let me just come into here. We can see there is my APA detail report. And underneath then we've got that full Pinpoint report as well that we can then just send off to the guest and give them the full copy of all that damage that the vessel has sustained during their visit, and also the costing of everything with the deductions at the bottom. So how then do we make our payments? As always, on the Voly side of things, you'll make your payments from the remaining funds out the APA balance over to your operational account by just making your usual payments. And then on the Pinpoint side of the platform, you've got a few different things you can do. So because fundamentally it's a damage and repairs tracking service, you can of course track the repair. So we've got, let's say here, our carpet burn on that one. We can then say and change the status to say it's ongoing, it's in progress. We've got our quotes in, we've got somebody coming on board. So you can update that status. You can also add comments to add more information as where it's up to. But let's say you've enjoyed using Projects Lite so much that you want to expand it to more operational use as well, or you're already using Pinpoint in an operational capacity. You can actually move the points over as well. So let's say then this guest is now has now been billed for the carpet burn. We're just worried about the repair progress. It's going to be an ongoing thing because we need a specific type of carpet or maybe a whole renewed carpet on there. So actually, I want to send this over to my Pinpoint operational account because I'm going to be tracking all the progress of the repairs together. So you've got the option here, more options to move the point to another site if you are using multiple sites on the Pinpoint platform. Fundamentally, then, that's how you can use your APA damages and the Pinpoint Lite service. If that is something that you are interested in, please do get in touch because, as Joe mentioned, if you're using APA currently, this is a free extra service that you can access. So just let your account manager know or get in touch with us and we can enable it and potentially arrange some training for you on there as well. But if you have any questions at all, then feel free to put them in our Q&A box now and we'll have a look through those.
Absolutely. I think you'll all agree, really, it just shows how much time can be saved at every single stage of the process there, Georgia. Seeing how you can do that, as I mentioned, right from your mobile phone, taking those photos, seamlessly transmitting that information into Volley, and then also how the report pack can be really enhanced to include all that detailed information. So really at every stage of the process, we can imagine, when crew are on board and they've got back-to-back charter, this is a really easy way that you can systematically make sure that guests are accurately charged for any damages that they cause on board. As part of the standard Volley suite of products. So, like Georgia said, this is something that we are really excited to launch just in time for med season. So if you are interested, obviously those clients who do bring on new APA clients on board in the coming weeks will be offering this as standard. If you do already use APA, then please do get in touch with us, a member of the sales team, a member of anybody really at Volley. You can use our live chat to get somebody's attention, and we'd love to talk to you in a bit more detail about it. It's also something we can set up really quickly for you. It shouldn't take more than 24 hours. Once we've got all the information, that extra important GA obviously is what we need from you, but it's not something that will take long to set up. So please don't be thinking this is great, but it's a bit too close to med season, because really we can have this up and running and we can have you trained on how to use it in a matter of days, assuming that you've got availability for that. But like Georgia said, do feel free to pop anything in the chat for any questions you might have. I've just seen there is a quick message about what the projects integration offers fully if you do decide to take out that additional small extra subscription on your license. So that's something we'd love to demo for you. So obviously what we've shown you today is the Project Lite version, which is linked to the APA. But you can imagine when you've got all the ongoing work on board, all of that in there linked to your operational account, it's really easy to then link the points to requests, purchase orders, and then subsequently invoices as well on board. So if you think that this is useful, Volley Projects is even better. So anyone that has already seen this and is now straight away thinking, wow, Volley Projects sounds like something that you need on board, do just let us know, because our team would love to talk you through that.
Yeah, I can also see another question there about making the payments to the repairs. So yeah, once you've invoiced it over to your operational account, if you are using operational Volley as well, we can go through how you've put on a one-to-one on how to show that those funds coming into your operational account, and then you just raise your normal invoices. So if it was external suppliers or vendors that came in to do the repairs, you'd be able to show that on there. And of course, if it was all handled in-house and it's just the products that you needed to actually physically do the fix, again, mostly through invoicing. But if you've made the payment on card, you've just gone down, I was going to say, to local B&Q, but of course that's very British.
Yeah,
You've
maybe
gone down
not.
to you've used your card. You can tell I'm the shore-based purser here. Yes, you've just gone to the store with your card, then of course you'd just process the transaction as normal. Once the funds are on the operational side of it, it's just then how you spend them on there.
Yeah, well, I think that seems to be all of the questions then. So, like we said, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, everybody. It's been great to talk you through this. A number of our colleagues are going to the MIBA Charter Show in the coming weeks. So, if you are going to be there, then please do get in touch. They'd love to have a chat with you. Other than that, any questions, please do let us know. We're always happy to help. So, go on, Georgia.
I was just going to say, so we do have another webinar coming up in May, and that's going to be around all the Voly products. So we're going to have people from, of course, the Voly side of things, and then the Pinpoint side of things, and then newly acquired our WorkRest partners as well. So there's going to be a vast content information amount on there. So if you want to join that, that's going to be in mid-May. The exact dates to be confirmed, but of course you'll be able to sign up to that through all the usual channels once we've got a date confirmed for that one.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Everyone.